You are listening to The World as I See It podcast. 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 As I See It. Hello, everyone, and welcome back to The World as I See It podcast. This is episode 53. And I am so excited for today's episode because we have a very special guest. Today, I am sitting down with one of the SOAR instructors, and her name is Sam. Sam, thank you so much for coming on the show today.
Hi, Addie. Thank you. I'm so excited to be
So,
here.
to get us started, could you introduce yourself to the audience and just tell us a little bit about yourself?
Yeah, my name's Sam Fisher. I am a TVI or a teacher of the visually impaired and a COMS or certified orientation and mobility specialist for a school district in Indianapolis, Indiana. I am also in the summer the money management instructor for the SOAR program through the St. Louis Lighthouse for the Blind.
Awesome. So, what initially inspired you to pursue a career as both a teacher of the visually impaired and orientation and mobility specialist?
Honestly, it's such a random story. So, formally, I was a manager for clothing and shoe companies. And I was really, really bored, and I really wanted to do a job that I felt like I was making an impact in somebody's life. And I decided I wanted to work with kids because I had a lot of experience working with kids in high school. And the first place that called me back was the Indiana School for the Blind and Visually Impaired. And so I went for an interview there, and they ended up asking me to be the manager for their dorms. So kids who live too far away from the school who have to stay there throughout the week. I would manage the dorms and the people that like worked in those dorms. And when I got there, I had never met someone who was blind. I had never met anyone who was low vision. They were assured me that I would fit right in. And I kind of just fell in love with my coworkers. I fell in love with my students. I fell in love with like problem solving and helping all those kids. So I ended up getting my teaching license during that time. And then the School for the Blind hired me as a middle school English teacher. Um, and, kind of from there, it was just a snowball. I ended up becoming an itinerant TVI. And then in my itinerant position, I noticed we didn't have any O&M instructors available. So I was like, oh, I'll become that too. So it kind of just started with ISBVI, the Indiana School for the Blind and Visually Impaired, taking a chance on me.
Oh, that is so interesting. So, if anyone who is listening is interested, could you explain kind of like the process of becoming a TVI or an O&M?
Yeah, it varies state by state. So in the state of Indiana, where I got my licensure, it's actually an endorsement on my teaching license. So I'm an English teacher for middle school and high schoolers. And then I had to go to Indiana State University and do a 2-year program to get an endorsement on my teaching license to be able to work with people who are blind or have low vision. It is not a master's degree in Indiana, but say you do the program in Kentucky, it's a full-on master's degree. I've also have friends in other states who it's part of their undergraduate degree, so their bachelor's. They were working on special education with a focus in blind or low vision. So it really varies state by state, but every state has one program. I'm sure some other states have more than one, but I know like where you are, Missouri, there's only one. Indiana and Kentucky, there's only one.
Hmm.
And that's the process for becoming a TBI. You go through the courses, you may or may not have an internship, and then you have to take a big teacher test, like 200 question test to make
Wow.
sure that you pass it. And those tests are called different things in different states, but they all have the same questions on them.
Hmm.
And then it's very similar with comms, except for my understanding is that comms is a separate master's degree. So
Hmm.
you have to have undergraduate coursework to be able to work on an orientation and mobility degree. And it's 2 years. And it has, if you want to be ACVREP, which is the organized body that kind of manages all comms, um, it has a 450-hour internship that you're required to do. And that is working with people who are blind or have low vision, as well as like planning and searching for routes and doing different things like that. So you have to do that internship, and then you have to pass another like teacher test. And once you have all of those things in place, then you are certified.
Wow, and you did both.
I did do both. And I loved doing both of them because all of the classes are the same throughout the country. Like we all had a Braille class and we all had a technology class. And then in orientation and mobility, we all have like a cane class or, there are skills
Hmm.
that you don't need a cane for. So we had a class to teach us how to teach those skills as well. And for O&M, we were under blindfold most of the time.
Oh, that's cool.
Um, yeah, making sure that we knew kind of what it would be like to be in our clients or our students' shoes,
Hmm.
and how to listen for traffic, things that you and your listeners probably
Wow.
already know a little bit about. So
Wow.
yeah, it was a lot of schooling in the past probably 8 years for me.
Yeah. So, as my listeners know, in episode 50, I talked all about my experience at the SOAR program, and you were actually my money management instructor. So, what made you want to pursue working at SOAR, and how long have you participated in the program?
Sure. So I actually did the bulk majority of my orientation and mobility internship at SOAR 2 years ago. Um, I applied for that position because I had heard such wonderful things about the program, and I heard that you could get a bunch of hours. So
Hmm.
I didn't want to do an internship at like a whole lot of different places. I wanted to try to get it done at just two places. So I
Hmm.
applied for SOAR for that 2 years ago in 2024, and when I was there, I met, incredible people. Your residential coordinator and your clothing management instructor have become, some of my closest friends. I met them in 2024 there as well. But we also just saw the value of the program and the value of the people who were putting the program on and how much they wanted these kids to succeed. And I told the director, I said, hey, if you have something open up in 2026, I need a break in 2025, but if you have something in 2026, call me, call me, call me.
Hmm.
And he did. And I didn't really have an option. It was either the residential coordinator or the money management. And I was like, I don't care. I just want to be a part of it, because it's so incredible. And so I ended up being the money management teacher.
So, and I know that you answered this a little bit, but there are listeners who are blind or visually impaired who listen to this podcast and they might not know about SOAR. So, what is it from your perspective and why should they go?
Yeah, so SOAR is essentially a 3-week crash course on multiple domains of the expanded core curriculum. And the expanded core curriculum, or the ECC, is a specialized curriculum for people who are blind or have low vision, where they are intentionally taught different things because they don't have the ability to passively observe the world around them. So, what do I mean? I'm talking things like orientation and mobility, career education, independent living. So that could be cooking, that could be managing your home, that could be clothing management. Recreation and leisure is also a domain. So these are all things that need to be intentionally taught to individuals who are blind or have low vision. And SOAR does that in a one to one participant to instructor setting in a highly individualized approach to make sure that the goals of the participant are being met throughout the summer. And this is incredible because as a TVI, I would love to be teaching these things during the school year. And it is a part of my job description. And I do my best to incorporate the ECC in as many lessons as I can. But I am not able to sit down and teach my students how to use a Roomba, or I am not able to, get a full lesson in where we go on a train for orientation and mobility all the time. So the gaps that build up during the school year can really be filled in the SOAR program. And I think it's really valuable for your listeners to do their research and see what their TVI is teaching them versus what they could be learning at SOAR in 3 weeks.
So, given the specialized nature of your work in both the classroom and the community, what is the most common or amusing misconception that people have when you explain your profession to them?
Do you know what I'm going to say? Have you asked this question to other people before in my
No,
job?
no.
Oh my gosh. So when I read this question to my other TVI friends, they all laughed and we all said it at the exact same time. So when I explain my job, um, and I usually say something like, "Oh, I teach students who are blind or have low vision how to access their schoolwork or be able to accommodate themselves in any given situation." And they're like, "Oh, so you know sign language?" And I have a choice there. I can choose to be a little sassy and be like, "No, come on. They are blind. It's Braille." But typically I'm like, "Oh, I don't have any deaf-blind students right now, so I don't need to use sign language." But I took sign language in college as my foreign language, so I know some and I can get by with it conversationally.
Right.
But yeah, I get that a lot. Do you know sign language? And the other thing I always hear is something like, "Oh, I have an aunt that was blind," or "Oh, my grandpa went blind when he was older." And then that's it. They don't expand on it. They just
Yeah.
want to be able to connect with it because, blindness is a very low incidence disability. There's not a lot of people, so a lot of people don't know a lot about it.
Hmm.
Um, so it can be an interesting conversation when I do tell people about what I do.
That is actually like the funniest thing ever. I would never have thought that it was, do you know sign language? I never would have thought that's what that's
Every
actually,
time. And it's not, and I thought it was just me. But then when I read that question to the other SOAR people that are my friends, they both said the same thing at the same time.
that is actually hilarious. I love that. So, overall, what is the most rewarding part about your job and why?
So, the most rewarding part of my job, I do not think that my answer is specific to the vision field. I think my answer is more specific to teachers in general. I think a lot of us do it for that aha moment of our students, where we see it in their body language and we hear it in their voices that they finally got something that they've been working so hard to achieve, whether that's, an IEP goal or they learn something that's going to make their lives so much easier. Like with you, when we did Apple Pay and you figured out how that your Cash App card was connected to your Apple Pay, and then you like went through it on voiceover and you were like, oh my gosh, I want to go use this right now. That moment of, hey, we did something together and it's really awesome. I also love the camaraderie of our field. I've got friends who are TVIs and comms in Kentucky and Illinois and Florida. And whenever one of us has a problem that we can't figure out the answer to, or we have a student that's just not getting something the way that we're teaching it, I can always reach out to somebody and say, hey, here's what's going on. What do you got for me? And just the collaboration across the field, across state lines is wonderful. And the friendships that I've made in this field and the opportunities that I've got have just been so rewarding.
So, to wrap things up, is there anything else that you would like to add or say to the audience?
Yeah, so I really encourage your listeners who are ages 16 to 22 to consider SOAR, even if they do have some residual vision. So the only requirement for SOAR is the age and then legal blindness. So if your visual acuities are worse than 20 over 200, you do qualify for SOAR. The other thing that people might not know is it's not just a program for Missouri residents. So this past year, we had a participant from Indiana. We had a couple people from Illinois. There was a young lady from Ohio. So if you are in another state and you want to participate in SOAR, you will be on the hook for getting there. So your parents or a trusted adult will have to bring you to Missouri, but you will be considered if you do sign up for SOAR.
Sam, thank you so much for taking the time to share your perspective and your experience with us today. It was great having you on the podcast.
Thank you so much. I had so much fun being with you, and I'm so excited that I got to talk to you today.
And to all my listeners, thank you so much for tuning in to episode 53. If you have any questions or feedback, comment down below or send me an email. My email is theworldasiseeitpodcast@gmail.com. Stay curious, keep listening, and I will talk to you in episode 54. You've been listening to the World as I See It podcast.